The topic for today is the differences between NPV and IRR. So firstly, let's look into what is NPV and IRR. What is NPV? NPV is net present value. Okay, net present value discounts the stream of expected cash flows associated with the proposed project to their current value, which presents a cash surplus or loss for the project. Okay, as said here, NPV is nothing but it discounts all the cash flows that is proposed by the project. So, for example, you have a project A and project B, and you have cash flows for both of it. So, both of the cash flow values, we are discounting it to the current value. Okay, so that is what is called as net present value. So we discount the cash flows of the expected or the proposed project, and we bring them to the current value. Okay, so when we bring it to the current value, we understand if our investment is going to bring us a profit or a loss. The calculation for the net present value is as follows. Here you have the summation of cash flows. So here the cash flows is the discounted cash flows. So the discounting factor for the cash flow and how the calculation goes on will be explained in the upcoming slides. Okay, so the summation of all these discounted cash flows is subtracted from the initial investment. Okay, so then we will understand if we are going to make a profit or a loss. How do you think we are going to make? We are going to understand that. Okay, that is basically if the NPV is greater than 0, which means if NPV is having a positive value, then we are going to accept the proposal. If at all NPV is less than 0 or it is a negative value, we are going to reject the proposal. As simple as that. So that is how we calculate NPV. Now let's look into what is IRR. Okay, IRR is nothing but the internal rate of return. Okay, IRR calculates the percentage rate of return at which those same cash flows will result in a net present value of 0. Okay, so in the net present value, we calculate the amount of it, right? So here in IRR, we are going to calculate the percentage. So when it comes to the percentage calculation, it is going to be the trial and error method. Okay, so the trial and error method, the formula is put right there. LDR, which means low discount rate, and TPVCF, which is total present value of cash flow of low discount rate minus the initial investment divided by total profit value of cash flows of low discount rate minus the total present value of cash flows of high discount rate. Okay, the whole into the high discount rate minus the lower discount rate. So that is the trial and error method on how we find out the IRR. Sorry. So here the percentage, that is you can see there are like a lower discount rate and a higher discount rate. So for example, let's take when we calculate NPV, let's imagine when you're calculating it for 10% discount factor, you're getting a negative value. But when you're calculating it for 5%, you're getting a positive value. So again, you're calculating it for 7% and you're getting a negative value. You're calculating it for 4% or 6%, you're going to get a positive value. So which means you're going through a lot of calculations. So you're not able to identify which is the actual discount factor that can bring you a positive or that can bring you a positive NPV. So IRR helps you to identify the percentage at wherein you can attain the break-even level of NPV, which is nothing but the NPV will be equal to 0. Okay, now since we have understood, in IRR, how are you going to do the accepting and rejection criteria? Okay, in IRR, okay, usually if IRR is greater than or equal to the discount rate, okay, if it is greater than or equal to the set discount rate, which is cost of capital, then you accepting accept the proposal. Well, if it is less than the discount rate, the set discount rate, then you reject the proposal. So since we have gone through what is NPV and IRR, let's look into the differences between NPV and IRR. Okay, here the first difference. The NPV method results in a value that a project will produce profit or loss, while IRR generates the percentage return that the project is expected to create. So as simple as that, NPV gives you, like we said before, we identify the value. We identify how much profit we are going to make, okay, or how much loss we are going to make. We have the exact amount given with the method of NPV. When it comes to IRR, we are only expecting a certain percentage. We will get to know only the percentage on how we can make the profit or a loss. So basically NPV is even more understandable for a layman, and IRR is a little complicated when it comes to the calculations and stuff. Okay, so the next difference focuses on project surplus, and IRR focuses on break-even cash flow level of a project. Okay, yeah. In NPV, we get to know how much profit or how much loss. That is, our whole motive of calculating NPV is how much profit are we going to make. Okay, so we are not going to know on the break-even level as such. But in IRR, we will get to know the actual break-even level of the cash flow for the project, so that we understand. Okay, if you make investment of so much of amount on that particular project, okay, for an extent you're going to make a profit. If not, you're not going to make a profit. So you understand the break even level. So NPV is always better. It is like higher the NPV better, and IRR it is not like that. So we understand the break even level of it. The next difference is produces different results for the same project if the discount rate changes, and for IRR produces same results even if the discount rate changes. Yeah. Okay. So just before, as I said, the example of NPV wherein you calculate a discount factor for 10%, 5%, 7%, and you're getting different answers. You are getting either in a positive NPV or a negative NPV. It is in a lot of confusion. Well, when it comes to IRR, whichever discount rate it is, okay, you can give n number of calculations of the discount rate, and you will find that you're getting the same result. You're getting the same answer when it comes to the calculations. Okay, so the next point, in case of NPV, the discount factor is based on assumptions, whereas for IRR, it is identified by the trial and error method. Okay, so as I said before itself, the NPV we assume, see, like I said, for 10%, you are getting a negative NPV, and for 5% we are getting a positive NPV. So what is it that we are thinking? Okay, 10% I'm getting a negative NPV, which means I might get, if I go down, if I reduce my discount factor, I'm going to get a positive NPV. But still, you tend to reduce a lot, or you tend to reduce little. So the whole NPV discount factor is an assumption. When it comes to IRR, you don't have to do any assumption. There is the trial and error method there for you. You can calculate it and identify IRR. The next difference. Yeah, NPV method recognizes the importance of a market rate of interest or cost of capital, whereas IRR does not consider the market rate of interest and seek to determine the maximum rate of return. Okay, here in the NPV, we consider the market rate of return, market rate of interest, or the cost of capital. But when it comes to IRR, we do not actually consider them, but we just go by the set rate. That is the maximum rate of return. We are concentrating on what percentage can we get the maximum rate of return. Okay, so yeah, when it comes to the next difference, NPV method can be used to evaluate projects or investments where there are changes in cash flows, whereas in IRR method cannot be used to evaluate projects where there are changing cash flows. Okay, yeah, this can be a contradictory statement because see, when there is NPV, when it comes to consideration of two projects. Okay, we are considering two projects and we are determining whether which project is giving you a higher NPV. So when it comes to that point, I think it is NPV is beneficial. So we'll get to know, okay, to invest in this project or not to invest in the other project. But in IRR, if you take you are determining the break-even level for one project itself. So you are basically able to understand on what is the break-even level that you're going to attain in in investing in that particular project. So the cash flows changing is a factor when it comes to IRR. NPV concentrates on higher the NPV, better the choice of investment. Whereas the logic of IRR is never undertake a proposal that gives return less than cost of capital. Yes. So here, as I said, the cost of capital of the company, that is what we consider. Just before I said you the market rate. See, IRR does not consider the market rate of return, but it only considers the cost of capital of the particular company. When it comes to NPV, it is not like that. We consider the market rate also. And that is why we come to the conclusion of higher the NPV, better the choice of investment. And IRR, we are concentrated on the cost of capital. So since the differences is over, let's concentrate on the, okay, I'll explain you an illustration which is concentrating on IRR, but there is calculation of NPV as well. Okay, here the illustration is a firm whose cost of capital is 10% is considering a project Z, and details for the same as follows. We have the initial investment of 1 lakh. The 5-year cash flow is given, which is 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, and 60,000. So now we have to compute IRR for the project assuming discount rates of 20% and 29%. So here 20%, as I said before for the formula LDR, yes, low discount rate, that is what is 20%, and 29% is HDR, high discount rate. Okay, firstly, the calculation of NPV at two discount factors at 20% and at 29% discount factor. So first we put in the years and the cash flows, and then discount factor at 20%. So discount factor 20%, I said you how I would be explaining on how to calculate it. So how do you calculate it? 1 divided by 1 plus 0.20, okay, equal to you get for the first year. What do you do for the second year? There is a difference. 1 divided by 1 plus 0.20 square. Okay, only the 1 plus 0.20 square, and then you divide it by 1 divided by whatever the answer you get. So that is how you calculate the discount factor. So in the calculator, it is easier to calculate. How you can do is calculate it for the first year and then press on the equal to sign on the calculator. You will get it for the remaining years. Okay, so now here PV of cash flows, that is present value of cash flows. So the present value of cash flows, how do you calculate that? Cash flows, that is 20,000 into 0.833. That is how you get 16,660. The same way you calculate it for the remaining years. So another 130,000 into 0.694, you get 20,820. So that is how you calculate the cash flows. Okay, so you get the total of the cash flows. The same way you do it for 29%. So here how is the discount factor goes? 1 divided by 1 plus 0.29. Okay, because the discount factor is 29. Okay, so that is how you calculate the discount factors. And the same way 20,000 into 0.775, which is equal to 15,500. Okay, the same way 30,000 into 0.600, that is the discount factor, so that is why it is 0.6. So that is how you calculate the PV, present value of cash flows. So you got the present value of cash flows for 20% and for 29%. Now, how do we calculate the net present value? Here, okay, so the formula that I said before, the total of present value of cash flows So here we have 2%. That is why I've written as at 20% and at 29%. So here what you do is the total you have taken it minus the total investment, you get the answer. So here you can see for 20% you're getting a positive answer, and for 29% you're getting a negative answer. So that is how the so if it was 2 projects, you accept the 20% discount factor project if it was 2 projects. Okay, so now how do you calculate IRR? Okay, IRR, the formula for it, it is given. It is I had explained it before when I explained about IRR. So just put on the formula and you put the values in it. So here the lower discount rate was 20 and the higher discount rate was 29. So here the total present value cash flows for LDR, the total amount of it we put in minus the initial investment, then total present value of cash flows for LDR minus total present value of HDR. Okay, so that is why you minus both the values, you get the answer. Multiply it by 9 because the difference between the discount factors is 9%. And that is how you get the answer called 23.60%. So that is when, so this is the percentage that you have understood, wherein you can get a positive NPV that we saw before. Okay, so that is like a profit actually. So here this percentage gives you the break even. So what is the conclusion? Here IRR is greater than 10%. What is 10%? The cost of capital of the company that they have decided. So it is more than 10%. So which means we can accept the project Z. So that is the whole calculation for IRR. Hope you all understood the video. Thank you.